Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Manscaped. Head on over to manscaped.com, use code Raiders to save 20% off and get free shipping on their brand new Beard Hedger kit. It's going to make your face look pretty freaking good. So what are we talking about here on today's show? It's this. I think that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to end up trading up for Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I think that. For the loyal Raiders Report watchers out there, and if you're a real one, spam RO4L down in the comments, because I'm going to say something that I say all the time, but I believe it, and I really, from doing this show, from covering the NFL like I have here at Chat Sports for the last 5 years, I believe in this. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think that there was a lot of smoke starting to ramp up around the Raiders trading up for the Ohio State quarterback, CJ Stroud. I'm going to give you all of my reasons why, but just remember where you heard this whole thing first. Hit the subscribe button for the best Raiders rumors coverage in the entire world. There's a reason why we have over 133,000 people a part of this family. And if you watch this show and you don't sub and it ends up happening, all I ask is this. Come on back. We're going to have a good time, and we're going to break it all down for you. So here are my reasons why I see the Raiders trading up for CJ Stroud. Do you remember the report that came out from the NFL Combine that said not only that the Chicago Bears are open to trade back from number 1, but I have said for a long time, the number 1 spot that I believe is the most likely that the Raiders trade up if they want to get Stroud is at the number 3 pick. Then the Arizona Cardinals, they come out and they say that they are open to moving back from number 3 in the draft. So there's the first little bit of smoke. Starts popping up. The Bears started it. The Arizona Cardinals, they threw it in there a little bit. But when you have the general manager, imagine Dave Ziegler stepping up to the podium and saying, hey, we're open to making a deal. Well, guess what? That's exactly what the Cardinals general manager did on trading the number 3 pick, and this is exactly what he had to say. We are prepared to select a player with our pick. That said, our phones will be open for any team that desires to move up. We will listen to offers. I hear that as an NFL draft analyst, whatever you want to call it. I hear that, and if I'm a team, I'm like, sure, you're going to take a guy no matter what if you don't trade back. Duh. But that's also, hey, who wants the number 3 pick? Do you want it? Do you want it? It's up for sale. And when things are up for sale, people aren't putting things on a yard sale not to sell them. They're putting them out there because they want to sell them. And that's what the Arizona general manager did. Put the number 3 pick up for sale. Let's go to the next thing here. There was a report most recently that the Raiders could potentially trade up. And I do think that this coincides with some of the other things that you're going to see on here. But the fact that the Raiders are throwing out these reports right now, that they're open to trading up from number 7, that's another big indicator that the Silver and Black have at least had the conversations with their front office, with the coaching staff. McDaniels, Ziegler are all working together and saying, hey, if there's a certain guy that we like, I think it's CJ Stroud, and we have to get this kid. Is it worth trading up for? I think their answer to that is yes. But you tell me, do you want the Raiders to trade up to draft a quarterback? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So when you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down. Top comment on this show. Yes or no. Do you want the Raiders to trade up to draft a quarterback? My answer, and this is a very vanilla answer, but it's my God honest opinion. It depends on the cost. Everything depends on cost, and it depends who you trade up for. Like, if you're telling me the Raiders trade up to number 3 and they give up 2 first-round picks to take Anthony Richardson, or 2 first-round picks and they give up, to go get a Will Levis, I'm not going to like it. Hell, if the Raiders give up 2 first-round picks and they take CJ Stroud, I'm not even going to like that, because this team has way too many holes to give up that much draft capital for a young rookie quarterback. If you're wondering, all right, Mitch, how much would it potentially cost to move up? Well, if you were to move up to number 1, According to the trade value chart, it's essentially going to cost you your first 3 picks this year, and then a first-round pick in 2024 and a first-round pick in 2025. I do not want the Raiders to do this. What about if you wanted to move up to number 2? Because let's say another team traded with Arizona, and now you got to jump up to where Houston is, or there's even a chance that I think Houston trades up to number 1, Chicago's at number 2, and then Chicago trades back again. To get up to the number 2 pick, it's going to cost you a first and a third, and then a first and a second in next year's draft. Even that, it's a lot to give up for one player. But what about number 3? This is where I think is the most likely option, and some people aren't going to like it. But if you want your franchise quarterback, it's going to cost you. And for the Raiders to go to 7 up to 3, this is where I believe it's going to be around. You're going to give up your first, your second, and your third round pick to take the quarterback that you want. It's a lot. But if you believe that you can find your franchise quarterback, that, I believe, is the price tag to trade up for CJ Stroud. Now, before I show you all how much it's going to cost to go up to the 4th, the 5th, and 6th round pick, remember, today's show is presented by our good friends over at Manscaped. And I love Manscaped because they're trying to make you look better. And I'm a big person who believes if you look good, you're going to feel good. And when you feel good, hey, you share love to the world. And that's what this show is all about. So go to manscaped.com. Use code Raiders to save 20% off. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a public service announcement. Manscaped now has beard products and is going even further with their brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. Go ahead and tell the world the leaders in below-the-waist grooming are traveling north of your South Pole with their revolutionary grooming products. The new Weed Whacker 2.0 and their new beard line confirms they have all the best tools for your hygiene toolbox. So get 20% off and free shipping with our code Raiders at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use our code Raiders. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. The reason why the Weed Whacker 2.0 is important is, you know, I love my family, but let's just say there's a few people in my family over the age of 60, and they got hair sticking out of their ears, out of their nose. Doesn't look great. I mean, I'll tell you right now. And I always am like, we got to do something about that. And when somebody has that, I'm sorry, I think about it. And I want to get rid of it. And if I met a stranger that had that problem, I would definitely want to take care of it. Take care of it with the Weed Whacker 2.0. Use code Raiders, manscaped.com. All right, so how much would it cost? This is for the 3rd round pick. To go up to the number 4 pick if you want to get your guy, this is, again, not what I think it costs. This is according to the trade value chart. If you don't know what that is, go to Google, look up NFL trade value chart. Your 1st, your 3rd, and then your 5th round pick to go up to number 4. To go up to number 5, you got to give up a little bit more, where you're going to be your 1st and your 3rd round pick. And then if you want to just jump up one spot, it essentially comes out to this, a 1st, a 4th, and a 5th rounder. In the NFL draft, you're going to have to give up picks if you want to move up. Teams really love these type of picks, which is why sometimes it does make more sense to trade outside of the draft. But if you want your quarterback for the future and you think it's somebody, then you know, you got to do what you got to do, man. Let's go to the next one here in terms of my smoke where there's fire. So Bears-Cardinals say they could trade back. Report comes out that the Raiders could trade up. I have told y'all for months that I had a very reliable source tell me that Dave Ziegler loves CJ Stroud. And if you don't believe me, go back to some of my old videos, because I believe it was back in January when my friend told me, hey, that's the guy that they want. And if they think that they can get him, they're going to get him. So now you add those first few notes, and then you combine with what's the new information that we got today at the NFL Combine, that Stroud's very first meeting was with the Raiders. The Raiders made it very important that they wanted to be the very first team that met with Stroud, which I think that speaks volumes not only for Stroud but also the Raiders. And luckily for you, we actually have the interview clip of CJ Stroud at the NFL Combine today talking about the Raiders.
Yes, sir. That was my first formal interview that I had. Met Coach McDaniels, met everybody in the front office, and went really well. Had a great conversation with them. Kind of got to explain what my offense was, and they asked me about my athleticism and things like that, if I can do it at the next level, and I told them yes, sir. So had a great conversation with them. They asked me about some family stuff as well. So just being really honest and trying to just build that relationship and that connection.
For you to have the first interview for a player that is expected to go in the top 5, A lot of mock drafts have him going top 4, top 3. That's important. Also, if you listen to what Stroud says there, he made it kind of interesting to me that he made sure that he nailed that interview. And then you start following a lot of the people that are close to the Raiders organization, and they keep saying, Stroud's killing it. He's doing a great job. What's one thing that McDaniels and Ziegler both said yesterday? That, yeah, they're not going to look at height. And I think that pertained to, what's his name? Bryce Young. But they also said something that's going to be very important to them is how players interview. They want a guy that can lead a locker room. They want a player that can lead a huddle. And it sounds like that they're very impressed thus far with CJ Stroud. The next reason why I believe that the Silver and Black are going to trade up for Stroud. Stroud's favorite wide receiver is Davante Adams. And you're like, well, why does that matter? Remember, Davante told the organization, I want to be a part of the discussion. And if Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they tied Davante in, I do think that it matters, especially if you're going to go with a rookie quarterback. So Stroud has already come out and said that he wants to play with Davante. You go all the way back to February 13th, Stroud says he'd like to throw to Ocho Cinco's favorite route runner. Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson, then went to Twitter and said, my favorite route runner is Davante Adams. Davante Adams saw a clip on Twitter of Stroud saying all this, and he liked it. So to me, okay, if you're trying to make Davante Adams happy and you know that he's okay with playing with CJ Stroud, well, you're checking off a lot of boxes on your list. And I also think that the Raiders, they were going to trade for Rodgers, but talk to Adams about Stroud. And the fact that Tay gave his approval on Stroud, now the Raiders have shifted their focus and they're looking at the Ohio State product. I don't believe that Vegas gets duped a lot. And when you look at the fact that at one point, Aaron Rodgers to Las Vegas was minus 500 odds. Think about that, okay? Like when you really, if you know odds and you know how Vegas does their thing, for the Raiders to not be in on Rodgers in Vegas and have it at 500 odds, that means something drastic happened. Like think about all the stuff Adams is sharing. Think about Rodgers. I actually think one of the reasons, and I had a source tell me this, one of the biggest reasons why Rodgers did his darkness retreat when he did is because he wanted to go to the Raiders, heard that the Raiders didn't want to have him anymore, and now he did that. Like, I think Rodgers wanted to go to the Silver and Black, and now because Adams said, I'm good going with Stroud, Raiders like, well, now that's not the route that we're going to go. So the drastic thing that needed to happen was Davante approving of drafting CJ Stroud. So if you're an organization, you got your star wide receiver, somebody who Dave Ziegler said he is close to as just any other player that he's ever had. Davante Adams has given you his approval. Raider Nation has given their approval. And he's going to be a cheap player, and I know for a fact Ziegler has loved this kid for a long time. You add that into the Arizona Cardinals, multiple teams being okay to trade back. You add all of that stuff up. That is why I believe the Las Vegas Raiders, whether it's on draft night or whether it's a little bit earlier, they are going to be a team that trades up and they get CJ Stroud, whether you like that or not. So what's your reaction to my theory? How do you feel about it? You want a one-word reaction? You want to spam some different stuff down in the comments? Let me know. I've been doing this a long time. And again, when you start following some of the stories, I do think that it gets interesting. I really do. And for Vegas to be minus 500 odds on Rodgers, and to that look dumb now, something drastic has to happen. And that drastic thing, I believe, is the Raiders think that, hey, we can get CJ Stroud, Davante Adams approves of it, and that's the dude that we're going to try to go out and get.